Do you see people in your industry who are getting all of the attention, even though you have more expertise, better insights, and just a whole lot more to offer? It's frustrating, right? But here's what I'm finding out. Authority in this day and age is more than just about your knowledge and your experience. It's a whole lot about how you position yourself. I've been looking at successful experts in multiple industries, from health to marketing to finance, personal growth. And I found that the most successful experts are actually really good at completing 5 key steps. In this video, I'm going to break it down for you. But make sure you stick around to the end, because I'm going to give a bonus tip which ties everything together. And if you fail to do it, then all those 5 strategies might not work at all. So let's dive in. So the first key strategy that I'm seeing successful experts do well is they've niched down. But it's not just niching down based on topic. They're very good at offering a unique angle on a particular problem that they're solving for their audience. Take, for example, Dr. Becky Kennedy. She's an expert in parenting psychology. And so she's not just focused on her niche, right, which is parenting, and particularly actually like millennial parents. She's not just focusing on just that topic and giving generic parenting advice. She really focuses on emotionally attuned parenting. She says things like, everyone's really good on the inside. Children are really emotionally complex beings like adults. And she doesn't like things like sleep training, like crying it out, things like that. So you see, it's a different angle, right? And not everyone is going to like it, but it's her angle that she's showing, and she's really focusing on the emotional aspect of those things. So there are some things maybe that you have heard before, but the angle that she's presenting is from that angle of the emotions between the child and the parent. And so as a result, like, it's kind of become this movement, or it is a movement now, and she's become the go-to expert on emotionally attuned parenting. So when you're thinking about this for yourself, just maybe focus on a problem, right? Like the problem that you want to solve, and think about, do you have a fresh take you can offer on this? And not necessarily like a fresh or brand new solution, but a fresh angle with which you can approach it from, like maybe a fresh why, like a different why that not a lot of people have heard before. Okay, let's move on to step number 2, or key strategy number 2, that a lot of great experts are doing really well, and that is creating high quality content consistently. And not just high quality content, but also high conviction content. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. So high quality content, I'm not just talking about like the video, the sound, the lighting. There's a minimum expectation for those things. But even more important than that is also the ideas that you're talking about. Like what I said from example 1, right? They kind of build on each other. It's a unique take. So high quality content is usually something where you're causing people to stop for a minute and just reevaluate their own perspective and just look at the world differently from a different lens. And high conviction content then is where you are really convinced about the solution, because you're the expert, right? So you would have a strong opinion on how to solve that problem. So take, for example, Gary Brecka. He is an expert in human biology and longevity, like living a long time. And he's not just talking about health and wellness. His content really focuses on things like oxygenation and methylation. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. And even just like genetics-based ways you can optimize health. And so he's saying a lot of things that maybe a lot of us have never heard before from our doctors, and just causing us to pause for a minute and listen, right? It's what grabs the attention. And then he also speaks of it very boldly. And likewise with Dr. Becky Kennedy, right? Like, she gets criticized about some of the things that she says, but both Dr. Kennedy and Brecka say those things with high conviction. They get criticized. And regardless of that, they're still like, this is what I believe from my experience. This is what's best. Because of that, they're viewed as experts. Okay, key step number 3, master long form content. So this could be anything from like writing a book, writing emails, writing an article, or doing a long form video or podcast. And the reason why you want to go with long form is it really gives you the time and the space to establish your authority. It helps you give things like case studies, deep analysis, and really explain your rationale so that people see your vast amount of knowledge, right? Like, oh wow, this person really knows what they're talking about because they can back it up with research or experience. And an example of this is James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. And so there you have like the ultimate long form content, right? Writing a book. And in his book, he really goes deep and dives into research-backed evidence to how you form habits. And before his book, actually, he started with blog articles on his website so that when he did finally publish the book, he was already an established authority. He was consistent in writing his blog articles, and he had a vast library already before his book even came out. So the takeaway is long form content really helps you build credibility and relationship. Okay, key step number 4 or key strategy number 4, know your audience. Okay, and this really does go along with 1 and 2, maybe, right? Like you've niched down, you know who you're talking to, what problem you're solving for them, and having an opinion for that, right? But then with this key step, I'm also talking about just making that problem or the pain points of your audience the focus of how you deliver the content. So let's take, for example, Mel Robbins. She's an expert in personal growth and productivity. And when she has her content, she doesn't just start out by giving like tips and what to do, right? She captures people's attention and really gets them to connect with her by addressing their pain points. She knows that her audience are plagued with maybe fear and self-doubt, and so a big problem for them is procrastination. So she talks on that. And then she has this thing called a 5-second rule. And it's where she really advocates for people to try and complete whatever that ugly task is, like maybe getting up out of bed first thing in the morning, to just count to 5, and within 5 seconds to just complete that unpleasant task. So here she's really like, she knows her audience. She knows that they have this maybe perfectionist streak, or just like, oh, it's so unpleasant, I don't want to do it, I have like fears about it, or maybe I'll fail. Well, she puts a boundary, like it's just 5 seconds. Let's just get it done. It's 5 seconds. And she takes it and makes it bite-sized and manageable for them. So the takeaway for us then is that we shouldn't just talk and start giving advice. We should first at least try to speak to our target audience's frustrations and the pain that they're feeling, and show how our solution, right, our how tip is addressing that. And finally, tip number 5 is to really try to become a guest on other people's platforms and build relationships that way, right? There's like a whole nother thing with that, but it's also just a reminder not to just burrow and make your own content on your own platform, but see who you can build relationships with and ask to be a guest on their podcast, or have them come and talk to you, right? Like interviews. And a great example of this is Brene Brown. And she was already respected in academic circles. You know, she's a vulnerability researcher and author, but she didn't really take off until she got onto other people's platforms like TED Talks, Tim Ferriss, Oprah. And so if you can do the same, that'll be great, because then you're also introducing new people to you and expanding your reach that way. And finally, bonus tip: authority is meaningless if people can't find you. Say you've gotten to them, they like you, they love you, they want to know more, they want to work with you. Well, where do they go? How do they find out more? So this final tip is basically just make sure you have a strong professional website and a strong presence on at least one platform, so that you're findable, and that your website really like is your home base, is your digital storefront where people can find things about you, work with you, purchase your products, and get in touch with you, right? So take, for example, Noah Kagan, founder of AppSumo and writer of $1 Million Weekend, I believe, is the book. He didn't dominate all the platforms all at once and spread himself too thin. He started out with an email list first, and then he went on to a YouTube channel, and then a podcast, and then he made sure he had a website that tied everything together so that people can find his best work in just one place. And so with us, then, we should also try to make sure that we have a strong professional website for our home base where people can just go and get in touch with us. And that's it. I hope this has been helpful. If you'd like to learn more in the future, please make sure you hit like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.